a black catwave band called Protea, and her parallel recording projects include Star Jasm, an actor, model turned designer, former pro-dom, NLP life coach, and literary translator. Toxic Cat leads a scattered, sketchy life and delights in showing her paintings, taking part in LGBTQ plus and kink-focused activities, traveling and collecting tattoos. Serena is a psychic reader, healer, priestess, and feline tarot creator. She lived almost 8 years in Paris and traveled to Egypt, where she recorded vocals in the King's Chamber. Come on up, Serena.
Thank you, Sumiko, for putting this together. So you said the books are $12.95 and benefit SF Aidswalk. I mean the Aidswalk, the SF Goth. Well, the Aidswalk in general, but we are Team SF Goth. This is called the leftist appendage. This new survey shows that women dress for each other, not for men. What's sad is that we women don't include ourselves in the women we dress for. As it dawned on Lyra that she was in for another spat with the emotional baby she called a boyfriend, she started to second-guess her breakup with her girlfriend. Are you saying it's better to dress for women than for men? I mean, what are you getting at? Do you think women are more worthy of being catered to? No, moron, I'm not. Stop pronouncing my name moron. I said moron. Not my fault the two are so close together. I just brought up the survey because it made the news. Most people still assume that women take time shopping and primping to impress men. We don't. Everyone's different. I just wanted to make sure we're on the same page with the whole gender thing. I was alienated from the restaurant where I worked because some 90s riot girls didn't want anybody with a penis around. Any gender can have a penis. Haha, I know, I'm just saying. What do you mean, the owners fired you because you were a guy? Isn't that illegal? No, I was friends with a lot of the customers. They were mostly people from the music scene. But this girl clique got all into Courtney Love and Bikini Kill and turned into a gang of feminazis. They ordered me to serve them their veggie burgers and soy shakes and shut the fuck up. Feminazis, wow. I don't mean to be PC, but couldn't you find a better word? I'm sorry that happened, though. They told me to stand there and look pretty. Well, that is less labor intensive, at least. Hardy har, it's not funny when you live it. Lyra heard the irony in that male angst and chose to keep her pesky woman thoughts to herself. Well, I won't make you feel less than because of some silly appendage hanging between your legs, gushed Lyra playfully as she side-hugged her man-child. But you're used to dating women. How do I know I'm not just some stinky boy to you? And what do you mean by silly appendage? Haven't we already ironed this out? Come here, stinky boy. Lyra pulled Moran to her on the bed and wrapped her legs around his waist. She stared into the brown of his eyes as they went from triangles back to pools. His voice softened, and the aforementioned appendage grew harder and much less silly. What are you going to do to me, Lear? He teased. I don't know, Moran. What were you thinking? I stopped thinking right about the time you started lifting your shirt up. My itty-bitties aren't so bad now, are they? Not if you cup them in your hands and feed me. Lyra held back a puff of amusement. She had barely started dating Moran, and had already had it up to her pierced nipples with his criticisms of her barely bees. Was Moran not breastfed as a baby? Surely his sticky-like flypaper mother was more than attentive in that regard. Lyra grabbed her bouncy riot girls and poised them close to his pillowy lips. Here, suck them. Moran licked and flicked as he undid his fly. Do you want me to get the clamps? He didn't wait for an answer, and the conspicuous appendage sprang to action. He urged Lyra to take it between her breasts, a booby trap if there ever was one, and moaned as he watched it navigate her cleavage. The 100% organic moisture created a slip and slide that the appendage found to be great fun. Oh, Moran, feels so nice there. It does, he moaned, ignoring her near miss with his penis labeling as he pinched each of Lyra's nipples with a metal clamp. Twy, one of Moran's alters, was up front, cocky, fully associated, and nearly integrated into his host. Smother me, one of them commanded lustily. She couldn't be sure who was giving the orders, but she was already in a compromised position and didn't much care. It was her cue to move up the host's earthly vessel and grind her velvet knot pussy in his mouth. His tongue parted her plush curtains and then the threadbare ones, and his lips sucked them in. He honed in on her clit barbell, and his mouth followed the same routine. Male rights activist in training or not, he liked eating pussy, and that was feminist enough for her. She couldn't give him much air, or he'd lose momentum. He and Twy did their thing until Lyra came, and they knew her climaxes by her shaking thighs and pleased cries. If some of this was Twy's doing, then she didn't mind the altar hitching a ride. And if she had had an orgasm, then so should they, right? Fair is fair. She flipped herself around, planted her flushed, wet femme-bomb in his still willing lips, and teased the head of his appended bot with her tongue. She was attempting to stifle a snicker. Maybe a candy cane move would help her concentration. If he only knew that she was still amused by the whole appendage thing, he'd freak out and break the mood, and possibly some mirrors. He and Twy were prone to that. Keep doing that, he motioned. She kept up her barber pole tongue swirls and segued to a rhythmic sucking of his attentive appendic. The more she sucked, the more of that thing she was able to take in. The beginning of what she assumed to be some deep throating signaled a new stage. BJ intensity level 2. Moran pushed his rooster higher into her throat, abandoning any interest in her cunt. Who needs that passé pussy with this as an option? Lyra wished she really did have a clit hiding out in her throat, but knew that there were more useful things to wish for in this relationship. His pumping grew too enthusiastic for her throat, and she drew her teeth gently down his shifting shaft as if to say, "You won't strike oil here." I know it's kind of late to mention it, asked Lyra, but do we have any spiked rubbers? I think so, grunted Moran, check the nightstand. Lyra drew a silvery packet out of the drawer, peeled the wrapper off with her teeth, and slid the latex body bag down his breathing shaft. Sit on my cock. Lyra mounted that cock rock with her swollen femme fruit and snorted to herself as the words femme fruit streamed across the streamed across the screen in her head. She hoped that the well-exercised appendage would fancy those lips as much as it did the ones on her face. She never knew what the finicky Moran and his shadowy altar. Doesn't every self-help book say something about communication being key? Maybe those crazy love cats would have to pick some locks. Lyra had been everything in Moran's head during sex, or everyone at least. The town 7-Eleven's trashiest teens, his first grade teacher, Miss Ratto, who looked like Olivia Newton-John in her prime, his little sister, and even this guy he knew. Imagine that, a dude. With Twy sharing his head, there was double the clusterfuck to consider. Moran would never admit it, but Lyra could tell when his connection was down. She had felt herself shift into different girl thought forms, and one guy, as he manifested them. What a wet, hairy, enmeshed mess. At least his meeker alter, Finn, would be reliably checked out for a spot of tea. Oh well, neurotypicals fantasize too. This was the same deal, basically. Any relationship with the Moran system would be a polyamorous one with those head squatters. She'd be better off getting with the program and imagining her own sex people. Things were growing complicated on all fronts. Moran's lupine alter began growling and snarling at seemingly random moments. Whatever the things that haunted him were, they made themselves known with nary a hint of modesty. What lived in Moran and what tore through him became an entangled nest of mindfucks. One night, when he and Lyra embarked on a binge of his suicide threats, her tears, and their angry emoting, an etheric specimen of astral wildlife breezed past. This was no altar. Lyra supposed aloud that it was a ghost dog, but both she and Moran knew better. Neither could tell if the sensation of malevolence they both sensed came from the eerie critter or from their fear of it. Moran told Lyra that tomorrow was another day, and they tried to calm the chatter in their heads just long enough for the distractions of the light to take over. Upon awakening, he reached for the nearest phallic object to feed Lyra's pussy. Bet you didn't expect me. It was Twy. You're the one who wants a dildo in you first thing in the morning, not me, and you know it. Scram. Me? Scram? That's parts discrimination. No, it's not. It's amputating an appendage that has needed to disappear for a very, very long time. If I go, I'm taking Moran, Finn, and the entire system with me. What really sucked badly for Lyra is that Finn was Moran's most delightful part. It hurt to envision him a collateral casualty. No way, Twy, the